Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And today I'm joined by a remarkable artist whose music continually pushes boundaries between rock, ambient, and cinematic music. I'm a huge fan. Many of you will know him as the voice, bassist, and creative force behind one of my favourite bands, Riverside. But today we're stepping into a very different world, one that Mariusz describes as equally important but completely his own, which is Lunatic Soul. The new album, The World Under Unsun, is out on October the 31st via Inside Out Music, and it's the eighth album in the Lunatic Soul cycle. It's a bold 90-minute double album. It's intimate, it's epic, it explores inner conflict, transformation, almost like a struggle to break free of toxic patterns, I think was what I read in the PR release. Mariusz Duda, welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast.
Hello, I'm so grateful for having me. Thank you very much, and thank you for this amazing introduction. I feel, I truly appreciate it.
I have all the Riverside albums and I have all the Lunatic Soul albums. And this one, Mariusz, I've been playing since I've been lucky enough to being given an early stream to get a feel for the album. I think it's possibly, it is to me, my heart, your finest work. One other thing I want to say, first of all, in the streaming era that we find ourselves in, to release a 90-minute album, it almost feels like a bit of a statement, a rebellion against the kind of short attention spans that many people have.
Yeah, I think I'm one of these dying species that still wants to cherish the ritual of listening to music in a way that the albums are the most important in this case. So yeah, I do music for that kind of people. So I believe that there's no matter if it's 40 minutes or 90. I said to myself, why the hell not? This time I can do this in the way that I always wanted to do. I mean, finally create my first double album. Who knows, maybe it's one of my best double albums ever. Because this is not the only one.
What the phrase "Unsun," which is the sun during an eclipse, where did this idea come from? It's a very striking image, as also seen on the artwork for the album.
I believe I should start from the information that each Lunatic Soul album has its own color. We have navy blue on Walking the Flashlight Beam. We have the red one on the Fractured.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have a green on the Through Shaded Woods because that's connected with woods. However, it's more like brownish, I guess.
Yeah.
We had the black and white. We had something between, which was gray. So yeah, and this time I really wanted to use yellow color. And to be honest, I was struggling between what should I use on the cover? Desert, sand, maybe sun. And yeah, sun was great. And then I said to myself, yeah, but this is Lunatic Soul. It's dark music. So I should something totally opposite. And maybe eclipsed, maybe sun in eclipsed form. Yeah, that's a good idea. So I did it, but it didn't look like a sun. So I said, let's make it Unsung. For me, it's also something like inner Easter egg, because Unsung, that was supposed to be the first name of this project. Before Lunatic Soul was born, I was thinking that maybe I should start doing something else apart from Riverside and call it Unsung. One day when I said this to my drummer, he said, you cannot do this. There is already the band Unsung. I play in this band. I said, what? Yeah, we're just releasing this album next month and everything is already printed. And I said, wow, but we talked about it. Yeah, but you said that you're not sure if it could be a good idea to use Unsung. And so I still don't know this history, if someone just used that without my permission or someone came up with the same title, I mean, the name at the same moment, it doesn't matter now. The thing is that I changed that for Lunatic Soul. But that was at the very beginning. Now we have the end of the story. So I said to myself, maybe it would be great to connect this yellow color with this Unsun Easter egg and put it to the title. The first, I wanted to name this album under Unsung, and it would be great. But I just realized that I have also the album Under the Fragmented Sky. So it's just like 8 parts. So what? I really do not know any English words. So I used something epic before that. And Riverside had life. Now it was the time for The World. So The World under Unsung sounds epic, like 90-minute journey.
It certainly does. It's you've said that you describe the story of a man trying to break free from toxic relationships and repetitive patterns. Is this drawn from personal experience or observational aspects of as you've gone around the world on
There
on
is
travels?
always lots of private layers in my art, and so the same situation is on this album. But mainly it's about the story of the main hero who is, the whole concept, the circle of life and death. It's about going through the afterlife and the life again, because it's about dying, reviving, reviving. And this particular album is on the side of life, between fractured and working on the flashlight beam. If we're talking about the plot of the story.
Yeah.
And it's all about the situation when you feel that you kind of reach the moment of your life when something is not right, especially at a certain age, and you want to change something. But the problem is that you cannot do this very easily because of some connections or situations, or I don't know,
Habits and just
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So but this album kind of helped me to make my own decision in some subjects. So it's kind of personal.
I absolutely love the album, and I know you don't like calling Lunatic Soul a side project. I mean, but what does Lunatic Soul give you that in a way that Riverside not so much can't, but that draws you towards this as an expression of your art?
Riverside is a progressive rock band with all flaws and virtues. And Lunatic Soul is a project that gives me much more artistic freedom than Riverside. Maybe because I know that I belong to progressive community, and let's be honest, I've learned for many years that progressive fans, which I adore, they're lovely people, but when they say that they want to hear progressive music, doesn't mean that they want to hear something new. They really want to hear something that they already know. So it's a really, in some way, conservative approach. I don't want to say that this is something bad, but I've noticed that for that kind of people, the drummer should play the drums and look like a drummer. The guitar player should play the guitar and be on the cover of guitar magazines. Bass player should look like the bass player, and the sound of bass should sound like the bass, And the same with the other instruments. The keyboards, the keyboard player, all these, the best bass player of the year, the best guitar player of the year. That is something. People love that kind of labels. And I really wanted to, and Riverside follows these patterns in sort of way. Sometimes we experiment, but it's always like
sometimes you do,
like that kind of approach. Lunatic Soul is supposed to be different from the very beginning. This is not the project of the bass player. This is the project of the composer. I wanted to be composer. In Riverside, I also compose most of the songs, but who knows that? I'm not sure if people are just thinking that I'm just a bass player, a singer, and this is what I do. And the rest does exactly what they play on. But the thing is that Lunatic Soul was the very beginning, from the very beginnings, the project that I could play all instruments and I could do everything, not play on the bass, on the vocal. I could also create my whole range of styles, of genres that I adore, from cinematic ambient music through electronic music, through oriental folk music, until progressive rock, even metal. And that kind of stuff, it's really hard to achieve in Riverside. I cannot do in Riverside the albums without drums, for instance, or without electric guitar, or without keyboards. And in Lunatic Soul, I can do that. Also, the whole plot and the fact that I can do almost everything without compromises, it's also important, because in Riverside there are limitations, like, okay, we have to play these songs live. Some of us can play that kind of part, some of us cannot. In Lunatic Soul, if I cannot play something, I can ask someone to play it. That's the thing. With Riverside, it would be weird, because there's different kind of approaches. Anyway, I really wanted to have something aside. And at the very beginning, it was a side project because Riverside was my main thing. And I know that for many, many people, Lunatic Soul is something like, where's Riverside? Because I don't play live shows and I don't use electric guitar, which is the most important instrument in progressive rock music, let's be honest. And so, but that was on purpose, because I wanted to show that this music is beyond all these labels. So in short, I believe that Lunatic Soul always gives me more opportunities to be more creative as a composer, as an artist, as an instrumentalist.
It's interesting you mentioned that about progressive music, because to me, the word progressive means that you don't know what's going to come next, because it moves forwards. It's always pushing. It looks behind itself, but it's going forwards, and sometimes it's going to stumble and maybe go to places it perhaps shouldn't have done. But it's about having the courage to try something different. So I am a huge Riverside fan, but I love the Lunatic Soul albums because I never know what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And I'm open to the fact that where it's going to take me is going to be somewhere different than the last album took me, especially with the one that was the kind of Scandinavian Nordic folk stuff. And this one, I love this one because you mentioned just about Eastern folk. There is a kind of Eastern feel to some of the music, isn't there? That's the scales are using. Is that kind of something that's coming into your kind of orbit as influencing you? This kind of Eastern folk feel.
As I mentioned before, I was inspired by everything, but yeah, in Lunatic Soul, I can show up something more from, I guess, my own roots than in Riverside, because Riverside is kind of connected with, I don't know, British influences, even, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you can hear that. It's just like the progressive rock music. But in general, I believe that there were moments in Riverside's music when Lunatic Soul even showed up for a while. I was in, for instance, the Wasteland album. It has more Lunatic Soul vibe than Riverside vibe, let's be honest. But because it was connected with the death of our friend. And this is the subject. I don't know what's going on. That was more Lunatic Soulish than Riverside-ish. And the thing is that you mentioned something. What I said about this approach about progressive rock, I didn't want to say anything bad about it. I just wanted to say that I know that lots of progressive fans adore to be in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So, the thing is that they are really open, but it's just like one leg should be always on an island that they already know. Like, something should be similar. With Genesis, yes, King Crimson, and the other leg, okay, can explore. But just imagine the bands that they are just with both legs are exploring something weird. So that could be tricky. And in Lunatic Soul, I believe it's more brave than Riverside if it comes to exploring different islands. Someone can say this is better, someone can say this is worse. I don't want to say that this is something like it's better. It depends.
I think it has the opportunity for you to take the listener's heart fully down the storyline that you are putting out. I mean, one of the songs I'd like to mention is "Good Memories Don't Want to Die," which is quite a melancholy ballad, but I think to me it's one of the best, most beautiful songs you've ever written. It could be a single or it could be in a film. I mean that song wouldn't fit in Riverside in some ways, but it is such a wonderful song. In fact, I have to say it, Mariusz, that your vocals on this album are some of the best I've ever heard you do. Just something about how you express yourself on the music, and there are some areas where the circle of Lunatic Soul and Riverside overlap. I think things like Hands Made of Lead, there's kind of a Riverside aspects kind of drift in under the cover of night there. But it is, there's so much light and shade on this. There's like mixtures of really long epic songs and then these beautiful ballads.
I asked myself a question before this album about the direction. And I decided to do something like a visit card of Lunatic Soul. I wanted to put all the genres that I use in Lunatic Soul, create something like the best of, mostly because this is the final chapter of the story. But also, I really wanted to have that kind of album. Like, if someone could ask me, okay, what's Lunatic Soul? What kind of music it is? So I would say, just listen to this album. It's everywhere here. And so that was my plan for Lunatic Soul. But also, I asked myself a question in what I am good at. And I just believe that I am good at melodies. I am good in doing some cool riffs on bass. And this is something that I wanted to use on this album as well. So it's not only Lunatic Soul, the best of Lunatic Soul. I believe this is something like the best of Mariusz Duda, or even, as I mentioned, like a visit card to show what kind of artist this guy is.
Yeah.
So he loves to be in this melancholical world, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So I also chose this dark music. That's why the Eclipse kind of helped me much more than Full Sun, shining bright in yellow. And so I chose also the way of singing that I can sing my more melancholical way. I don't want to pretend that I'm a rock star, from the really, really rock band, because this is not my style of singing. I've never liked heavy metal, high pitch kind of vocals, and everything that it's similar to that. The vocal for me was always somewhere just in between the layers, like another instrument. But of course, I've learned over the years that some emotions and lyrics that matters can also help to the listener to express this in a proper way. So I just wanted to say that if you hear something from my electronic world, or if you hear something on this album from Riverside music, it's nothing wrong, because in the Riverside, I'm the main composer as well. This is my style of doing this. But I also believe that in general, this album sounds like the core of Lunatic Soul approach. Of course, it can remind something from the past that I did, both in Lunatic Soul or in Riverside, or as I mentioned, in this electronic lockdown pandemic new world that I did. But I think this is mostly Lunatic Soul identity. And I tried to choose the best I could to sum this up and maybe, start the new chapter in the future.
Yeah, I mean, songs like Mind Obscured, Heart Eclipsed, which is almost 12 minutes long. And this is at the 2 minute mark, I put down in my notes that you come in with one of your classic bass riffs, which leads the way for the song. But it's an amazing piece of music. There's so many twists and turns, the acoustic guitars, and then there's that lonely saxophone solo at about 8 minutes in. I mean, there's so many textures and things. Did you find that doing this, because it's Lunatic Soul, it gave you the freedom to not be in a rush to think, oh, well, I need to have this or we need to have a guitar solo? It gave you more, almost as a painter, it gave you a chance to look back and look at the canvas and think, we'll have a bit of sax on there.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of being an artist creating solo albums. You don't have to think about your bandmates. You compose the song just to show what you have in your head, and of course, people are getting old, becoming more mature. But in the band, there is always some kind of band members are like competitors in some moments. It's just like if you do the song when there is no drums for like 10 or 15 minutes. So it means something like, come on, what should I do here? Right. Yeah. Or I don't know, instead of exactly guitar solo, you can use saxophone, or you can do like intro for 3 minutes only with keyboards. So imagine that you do this in the band, and the bass player and the guitar player could say, maybe you could add something to this. And you say, no, don't do this. Why? And, that kind of stuff. When you have your own project, you can just simply just play whatever you want to. And this is fun. And but also, I really wanted to show that the Lunatic Soul exactly is something different than that. So I could use more cinematic, ambient sound design layers and connect them with, let's say, melodic moments. Those classic bass riffs. Yeah, Heart Obscured. It's a long track, but both songs, the one you mentioned as well, Handmaids of Lead and Mind Obscured, they've got these, let's say, pattern that it's probably influenced by Wish You Were Here. I mean, like, you've got this the beginning, and some melodical moments are at the beginning. Later on, you've got lots of different ideas, and at the end, the beginning returns in a different form. So I guess this is just like, shine on your crazy diamond that you can have at the very beginning, at the end. It's still a kind of Floydish influence about the structure of the album. But these are two different kind of examples how I see this. And yeah, I find these tracks pretty interesting, to be honest. The Mind Obscure is more like Lunatic Soul. The Hands Made of Lead, it's more like Riverside, but those two approaches are always important for me. First one sounds more experimental side of Lunatic Soul. Another one shows that this is still something connected to progressive rock.
Yeah, Monsters is a kind of a close veil towards heading towards Riverside in a way, with all the distortion on the guitars. But and again, it's a great song. But the other ones I mentioned, what I'd like to mention is Game Called Life. This has a very oriental feel.
Yeah,
I love the hummed vocal and all the keyboard layerings and the gentle piano before it goes into that bass drum program keyboards. And it's like you just said, Mariusz, about the songs or the music feels like it has space to breathe. So if you set up a really good groove with the keyboards and everything, and whereas in some other confined areas for an artist think, well, I've done that long enough now because I've got to bring in the guitar. Yeah. You just let this roll. It just takes the listener. It takes the listener on a journey where when the lyrics come in, you've almost had time to prepare yourself for the next verse.
I believe that I should emphasize one really important fact. The Lunatic Soul is inspired by electronic music, by the artists like Tangerine Dream. So yes, and that can dance. So it's more like this, not like classic rock.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing, you know? So it's funny when you are a fan of classic rock and when you listen to that kind of music and you can say, like, okay, I'm waiting for something. Is it going to happen something? No. It sounds for me like a big intro to something,
Yeah.
but when is the beginning of the song? And you can say, man, it's just happening. This is the song. So someone can say, oh no, it's boring. But just imagine
No, no,
that
no.
you listen to the albums like Ricochet by Tangerine Dream or
Oh, brilliant.
Rubicon,
Yeah.
and this is just like constantly arpeggios for like 15 minutes, you know? So for
Yeah.
someone, it can be the intro. So this is different style. This is different genre. It's so funny when Lunatic Soul, I'm doing the promotion and I'm just, it's still Riverside bubble. So lots of metal magazines are interviewing me, and they're just saying like, "Oh, I love these parts. Handmaids of lead is like metal and stuff." There are some moments that are pretty long, and nothing happens there. Well, I'm waiting for a cool riff, but see, I find this sound design. I don't know what to do with this. That's the beauty of open mind. If you have open mind, and first and foremost you realize that Lunatic Soul is based on repetitives. It's based on that. It's like in techno music, it's still the same, but the layers are adding up. And Game Called Life is a great example because I'm just having fun with the constant trance. And but at the same time I had fun to connect this or folk oriental with electronic music. I think this is really original and progressive.
Yes, it's exactly, and I just love the multi-layered kind of moods and textures that the music gives you a chance as a listener to just be pulled along with. I mean, you talked about this the cinematic side, Parallels, which is quite a short track. That to me reminded me of like a John Carpenter
Yes.
film soundtrack. It sounded like that.
Just exactly. If you have the soundtrack from the movie, you always have something like, I don't know, 25 short pieces, right, of
Yeah,
music.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes it's just like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So from this perspective, it sounds like the suite.
yeah.
And just so I also love in Lunatic Soul, I use that in the past, like the Fear Within, for instance, or Where the Darkness or Deepest, those ambient things that it's just like a trance for like 5 minutes. Uh, I saw this that way that it's always nice to have on Lunatic Soul album something that you can use for your, I don't know, if you are working with art and you want to dance to something weird. So it's always nice to have that in the on the album, that you can take it from the big part and use it, like in the theater, for instance. And that the parallels are just something like a small sound design, but it was necessary to take a breath between two songs, or even before the grand final, which is the self-distorted glass.
On my notes, I put Loop of Fate. That's another one that about 3.5 minutes in, there's this great kind of groove that just there was so many moments in this where it just
Another repetitions.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
but I absolutely love that aspect of your music, Mariusz. It's what's drawn me in. There are aspects of that obviously when I first got involved with Riverside, but I think Lunatic Soul is like creates the soundtrack to what you're doing. So I live in Cornwall in the UK. So I've been driving around with the new album, the new Lunatic Soul album, in the car, going across the coastal roads, and it just fits. it
Yeah.
fits. It fits perfectly. And that one, Loop of Fate, has this kind of again Eastern rhythms, and you just mentioned self-distorted glass. Again, another kind of Eastern feel to the music. And the way that, probably because of where I live by the sea, it ends with the sea in the background. It's kind of, this is just a wonderful album, Mariusz. It's just superb.
Thank you. Those influences that you mentioned, Lunatic Soul was mainly inspired by Dead Can Dance, for instance, music. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
always
yes.
something from. It's a music that sounds like from the another dimension.
Like Lizard Girl, isn't it? Who
Yes,
sings,
exactly. Yeah,
it's from another planet. Yeah.
exactly. So that was something that I wanted to create. I was, for instance, also inspired by Peter Gabriel's Passion album. If you listen to Passion, there's lots of those Oriental stuff.
I love that album.
But the approach is really, everything is really aesthetical, if you know what I mean. It's just like, I like that. From the very beginning, someone can say that I was afraid to use, let's say, more distortion or more rock and roll approach. But come on, if you listen to Lunatic Soul Part 2, these Oriental parts are really heavy in some moments. But that's the thing. I love to experiment with that kind of music. I know it's maybe now there's lots of bands like, I don't know, Vardruna, for instance, or Heilung. They are also cherishing this Eastern rhythm influence. But Lunatic Soul was before that,
yes,
trying to experiment that a long time ago. And on this new album, I also wanted to mark the fact that this is still important for me. That is why these Oriental folk elements are almost everywhere on this album.
I did put on the opening song, which it's interesting. I know it's all about life and death, but I put down that it was a very positive, life-affirming song, and actually put elements of Tangerine Dream, towards the end with the way that you've got the reverb on this guitar solo. But there's a lovely kind of earworm motif that towards the end, the solo piano takes it up. It's just a very, very, almost like a personal soundtrack of an album that doesn't. Whatever kind of mood you're in, if you put this on, for those of you listening to this, you must make sure you buy the physical copy. I think it's a wonderful. You said, sorry, Mose, I'm jumping around here because I know we're coming to the end of the interview now. But you described it as being the best of Lunatic Soul, or the best of your output, and I think it comes across like that.
I'm not sure, let's be honest, the best one is always connected with your emotions, right?
Yeah.
So lots of people have their best albums, not exactly the same as all the critics think about it, because it's very often connected with this emotional spark that you have. I don't know, your first kiss with someone, or first trip to somewhere, when you saw for the first time in your life the sunset or sunrise, and listening to this album, it always will be your favorite, even if the next one will be much, much better. It doesn't matter. The personal aspect is always the best. But so maybe I hope people will connect this album with some personal aspects as well. But for me, what was the most important, this album shows the core of what Lunatic Soul is. Some people can realize that Lunatic Soul is very, very often based on two things: repetitives, maybe three, different kind of genres in one place. Second part, trance and repetitives, and the third part is the fact that it's more sound design than the actual solos. If you count solos on this album, it's not so many. It's mostly like there's lots of melodies that they're just trying to be there, and here and there, additional layers, additional trance music. So it would be so easy to make this album full of guitar solos, saxophone solos, I don't know, another thing. But that's the thing, that most of this music, it's connected with the sound design. So I think I found a good balance on this one. And that's why this album is so long. But I just said to myself, if people can go and see Oppenheimer, that is almost 3 hours. If people are going to the cinema and see the blockbuster Avatar Part 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's nearly 3 hours or even more, or if people can see The Brutalist, that it's almost 4 hours with the intermission, why in this cinematic world it's fine, but when it comes to music, people have to say out loud that they only need short albums because they have a problem with attention. The attention span is short. They live in the distracted world. Come on. Just find yourself in the place that the music can be your therapy, and you need this music to to find calm within. And I create music for that kind of people, for that kind of audience. If you don't have the time to listen to music, don't listen to this. But if you can find time to listen to music, I think for you, it doesn't matter if the album lasts 45 minutes or 90 minutes. You can always listen to this, every day with some parts. You don't have to listen to this from the beginning to the end. But for me, the cinematic approach, something that you are in the cinema and you're watching the movie, it's always the most important approach in terms of creating music. And I really wanted to create the album for people who can find time, like 90 minutes, and go on a journey like they're in the theater, like they're watching a film. So I know that we live in a really, distracted, uncertain world, but it doesn't force me to create something different. I still want to show that this is my way of dealing with this world.
I think, on my T-shirt, which listeners can't see, it says
Yes.
"Music is the healer and the doctor."
Exactly.
I do feel that this album is like, in a way, taking your vitamins or your medicine, because I've had it on, as I said, when I've been driving about, but equally I've had it on just around me, and it kind of music like this changes the atmosphere of the room that it's played in, so it changes. And one of the things, I grew up listening to rock and metal and prog. But you know what? The things that drew me to Lunatic Soul was the trance, techno, repetitive nature of the music, because it was such a freeing, expressive thing to listen to, which it was a world that's, whilst I mentioned like people like Lisa Gerrard and Passion by Peter Gabriel, I love the way that the music will latch onto a groove and sit there to leave it almost like whatever you're doing, whether you are just stroking your cat or making a cup of tea or work, it kind of enters you. So I think that what you've created here, Mariusz, is an album that works on so many different layers, and is, in the truest respect, progressive, because it doesn't fall. You don't know what's going to happen next, but you're very happy to just go with the flow of where each song is going to take you.
I believe also that this album can help to understand previous Lunatic Soul albums. Like, this is like the glue of everything. And proof that, okay, so that was the project that had the idea for itself from the very beginning. And I'm proud of this trip. It's let's be honest. It's we have 8 albums here. This one is one of 8. But the longest one. So someone can say the most important one, because it's also the last one. But I think that I filled all the gaps on this one, and I believe that I will also help to understand at least the previous journeys that I made with Lunatic Soul, that all these sounds were on purpose. But I also agree that I think the best balance is on this one.
So because you say this is like you keep mentioning the final part.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that Lunatic Soul's been parked. I mean, this is not the last album.
I believe that this form is expired already. I mean, I did everything that I could. Okay, I can continue that over and over, but if you know me, I don't want to repeat myself. That is why all Riverside albums that you have behind your back are kind of different, because the river should be interchangeable.
Yes, of course, yeah.
So the same was with Lunatic Soul. So I believe that if Lunatic Soul will return, it should have something different. My very first idea for, let's say, new life of Lunatic Soul in the future should be something like, maybe it's time for electric guitar. Because for these 8 albums, I was avoided electric guitar, mostly to create something original.
Yes.
Because the limitations are can inspire me. I think maybe even Robert Fripp said that once, that what they do, it's just something like, imagine that you have the box of matches and you have only like 50 matches there. So you cannot use everything that you have all over the world. Just have this box and just experiment with this, connect 3, 4, 5, 6, but you don't have 51. So this is the same was always with Lunatic Soul. I had the arsenal of instruments that I was using for Lunatic Soul. I didn't want to use electric guitar. That is why I was trying to distort bass and forced it to sound like the guitar. I even used this instrument, piccolo bass, that was something between bass and guitar. But that's the thing. I created thanks to this specific kind of sound, original. But I have the feeling that I did everything with this. So what I can do, it's only another repetitions. This album is already like summing everything up, but I do hope that there are some new elements that people didn't experience yet. But the next chapter, maybe it's time for electric guitar. Maybe it's time to do something with this instrument and try to find and connect this, what was so far, with, I don't know, the new approach. It's like King Crimson did, right? Several times when they were just going back with a different lineup and different approach. And the same maybe will be with Lunatic Soul. But I don't know when it happens, what the future brings, and what kind of lineup it would be. But it would be great to continue this musical journey, because I find this kind of original in many, many aspects.
Wonderful. Mariusz, thank you so much for joining me on the Now Spinning Magazine podcast. And The World Under Unsung is an absolutely stunning and deeply human album, and a fitting finale to the Lunatic Soul cycle, and a powerful statement, I firmly believe, to you as an artist. So the album is out on October the 31st on Inside Out Music. There's a 2 CD media book, there's a Gatefold 2 LP, and everybody should all buy the physical copy to help support the artist. And obviously you can stream it as well if you want to check it out, but make sure you buy an actual physical copy. Thank you so much, Murray, for your time today. I'll put the links into the website so that people can check it out. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
My great pleasure. Thank you for having me, Phil. It's amazing. I wish you all the best. And I'm so proud of you that you are one of these people that try to heal people with music. That's great.
That's what it does, and especially in these dark times. So thank you. Thank you. Hopefully I'll talk to you again.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.
A huge thank you to my guest, Mariusz Duda from Riverside and Lunatic Soul. That was an amazing interview for me. Riverside are one of my top bands, one of my favorite bands of all time. I just love everything about them, but I love Lunatic Soul as well. And I love the techno trance aspect of the music. To me, progressive rock means moving forwards to unknown territories, setting sail and letting go of the rail and just moving out there into the world of music. I mean, my entry point to the world of Mariusz Duda was Anno Domini High Definition, the Riverside album. And one of the things that drew me to them was this kind of techno rhythmic Tangerine Dream layered approach to music, where there wasn't going to be a guitar solo or a keyboard solo. It was just almost like a hypnotic journey. And of course, Eye of the Soundscape is a good example of this kind of world of electronic music. But Lunatic Soul, they made 8 albums with the release of this new one, The World Under Unsung. And every single one of them is different, but every single one of them is like a soundscape, is cinematic, and takes you on a journey and changes the room of which you're in. And as you know, those of you who've followed me for a while now, that my strapline is music is the healer and the doctor. And I really believe that music heals. It helps change how you feel. If you've got up in the morning and you're not feeling 100% or whatever's going on, there is certain styles of music, or music perhaps, but there's some artists that seem able to pull together soundscapes and music that each time you listen to it opens up another level of its genius of the artists themselves. And Mariusz Duda is one of those people, from leading so much music with these very strident bass riffs, that it's a music where the bass is up front, but not overcharged or doing things to try and shove, but these very rhythmic and hypnotic motifs that just go into your ears and stay there. There's so many of Mariusz's music, whether it's Lunatic Soul, Riverside, where I can literally replay those bass riffs in my mind. But I love the fact that, as we talked, he loves Dead Can't Dance and and Peter Gabriel. You can feel those, and Tangerine Dream, that kind of rhythmic pulsing keyboard, repetitive aspects of the music. Repetitive is the wrong word. I don't know what the right word would be, but it's almost like saying that it gives a chance for the music to go beneath the skin and into you as a person. That, as he said, we was talking about some music where the introduction isn't an introduction to something that's going to happen with the arrival of a power chord, but the introduction is the event. It's setting the scene. It's setting this cinematic scope for the music. This album is without doubt the high watermark for Lunatic Soul. I mean, I don't know where Mariusz is going to take this idea in the future, whether this is a full stop to where this project can go. But 8 albums, all essential. But this new one, 90 minutes, a double album, which is stunning. I'm going to review the album fully on the Now Spinning Magazine YouTube channel and website and everywhere else, so I don't want to go into it now, but I'm being lucky to be listening to it, and I absolutely adore it. It's out on October the 31st, and just listen to any Lunatic Soul album. Each of them are very, very different. So thank you again to Mariusz Duda, my guest, and it's been an absolute honor and one of my favorite artists. So I'm absolutely over the moon about being able to talk to Mariusz. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Please check out the website at nowspinning.co.uk. Check out the YouTube channel and please subscribe. And if you'd like to come closer in to the Now Spinning Magazine multiverse, then become a patron or YouTube member, and you will get access to our private music groups on Facebook and WhatsApp, where you can talk to like-minded people in a very safe environment. All people that just love music, love collecting music, and know the power of what music can do. Take care, all of you. Oh, and did I say we have our own private virtual pub called the Now Spinning Arms? You can come to that as well. Take care. And I'll talk to you all very, very soon.